Ole Miss got a commitment from Jett Goldsberry. We got him, and he's going to talk to you and tell Rebel fans what they can expect. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Steven Willis, and this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast on the internet. And we're going to bring in Jett Goldsberry in just a second to talk about why he committed to Ole Miss and what Ole Miss fans can expect. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And thank you very much for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. Please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. We would appreciate it if you don't mind. All right, so Jett Goldsberry, we're going to bring him in just a second. He's kind of doing his camera at the moment and getting ready to go. So whenever he's ready to go, we will bring him in. Jett, how are you doing? You had a really good ceremony in Indiana. And listen, Brian Smith, the Florida football scout, is originally from Indiana. So
yes,
he
sir.
is well familiar with the Indiana football state. And the first thing he said is like, Southern Illinois, Indiana, those schools, they shouldn't have two players that play like that. And
Yeah.
Everybody laughed about that. So talk about your run to the state championship, what type of player you see yourself as, and where, honestly, Ole Miss is recruiting you to play.
Yeah, I'd say, we had a really good run last year. Obviously, we had a really good team. We had a couple guys, I think, commit D2, D3. So we had one that went to Hillsdale. His name's Parker Hart. He was a big contributor for us last year. He played linebacker, lineman, D lineman, everything for us. And then we had another guy that's a running back. He went to Kentucky Wesleyan over in Owensboro, Kentucky. And they're both playing in the North-South All-Star game this weekend. So, congrats to them. They were a big thing for us last year. And then obviously having Tyler, my tight end, to throw it to whenever I needed to. He was great for us last year. And then having our coaches, man, our coaching staff is really good. Todd Wilkerson, our head coach, is actually he's the coach of the South team for the North-South All-Star game too. So, last year, once we got into the postseason, man, we were just rolling. We in our sectional we had, I think 5 of the top 10 teams in the state, something like that. And we ended up playing probably the state game in our sectional championship against Memorial, Evansville Memorial. They're a private school over in Evansville, Indiana. And we ended up beating them, I think, I don't know, double digits, but they were the number 1 team in the state. We were number 2. So we ended up beating them and then going on and playing North Harrison at home. They were more of a North team. I think they came down. We beat them, I think, I don't know exact scores, but we beat them by double digits too. And then ended up playing Batesville, who we played last year in the regional. We played them last year in the regional, and this year we played them in semi-state. We ended up beating them, I think, like 45-0 or something to go to state, or it was something in that range. They were a really good team last year. We actually beat them last year by a field goal, and ended up stopping them on their last drive by getting an interception. So our team has really developed over this past couple of years. We got into the spread offense 2 years ago. And it kind of just helped me as a quarterback, and my tight end Ruxer as a wide receiver to use our skills and our athletic abilities. But other than that, I play a little bit of both ways. So I play a lot of quarterback for the team, obviously. Got to do a lot running the ball, throwing the ball for our team. So I got put back there at safety on defense, because I'm a good athlete. I can make good hits and all that. So I actually play a little more offense because coach needs me there. But that's what I'm getting recruited as most is safety. But I get the athlete name because I play both ways. And I'm open to doing whatever for any team. But obviously I'm going to Ole Miss and I'm excited for that. They're looking at me for safety, coming downhill and hitting, staying in the box and, seeing what I can do. And then, working on my coverage because obviously I don't play a lot of defense, and coverage wise in Southern Indiana. So we're going to work on that with Coach Neighbors and, Coach Golding. They're going to, develop me. And that was really one of the biggest things. I mean, you got to have elite coaches to develop you. And I mean, they're elite. So that's why I picked them. And I mean, really, they're great people, great coaches. And, I just trust them. So they're looking at me for safety. I talked to the running backs coach a little bit. He joked about maybe even getting some reps there. So I'm looking forward to, getting there in December. I'm actually graduating early, so I'll get there mid-year and then, play special teams, do whatever I can, try to get a little bit of defense if I can, just do whatever I can for the team to, improve the team, help the team out. I'm a team player. I'm excited and, go to Ole Miss and do what I can.
Yeah, if you look at Jett's huddle highlights, the first thing you notice there, especially the stuff you playing quarterback, man, you were born about 25 years too late. If you were playing football in the 90s, you would be an option quarterback doing the Nebraska stuff. I mean, you can see it. It's all over there.
Yeah.
Is there a situation to where you might be a short yardage quarterback maybe?
I mean, if they want me to, I will. I can run the ball. I can do whatever. You just got to put the ball in my hands,
Yeah, absolutely. So who recruited you? Who was your main recruiters in this process?
Yeah, so I was on a spring break trip in Mexico. When I really got the first text, Marvin Nash, Coach Nash, on Twitter, actually, he DM'd me and he was like, yeah, man, we really like your film. We want to get you down here for a practice. And they literally had, I think, 1 week of practice left. And that was the next week, after spring break. So I called my dad. I'm like, man, we gotta get down there. It's SEC ball, it's Ole Miss football. There's not much better than that. And so I got on the phone with Dad and we were like, we gotta get down there. And he was like, yeah, we do. So we got down there. I think, I don't know, three days after that text. So I got home, and then I got home from Mexico, and then within a day or two, I think we were gone and off to Ole Miss. So, I ended up going there for the visit. Ended up getting the offer. And that was awesome because, that place is just special. Oxford is a really special, really cool place. You'd think SEC, really big place, really, big area, but no, it's a small town. It's just here in Santa Claus, Indiana. There's people coming up to you, saying hi, asking how you're doing. And that's how I felt when I was with my player host on the OV. There's people coming up to him and, saying hi and stuff. And I just really like that because that's how that hit home for me. That's kind of how it feels down here, up here in Southern Indiana, where I live. There's people, congratulating you, talking to you wherever you're at. And it's just, it kind of hit home for me there.
All right. When we come back, we will ask Jett absolutely what is his goal for this coming season and what is his favorite MLB team. I'm curious because he's from South Indiana. I'm thinking Cincinnati Reds, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Monarch Money, you ever wish managing your money felt a little bit easier with Monarch Money? It can, whether you're growing your savings or planning on a big purchase. Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you the full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When I got Monarch, I immediately saw how much I was going out to eat and the damage that was causing. Now I've been able to rein that in a little bit. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for half off your first year. All right, so we're going to go back to Jett Goldsberry real quick. And listen, you had 54 touchdowns your junior year. You kind of rolled through, won a state championship. What was it like, first of all, playing at, heck, it used to be called the RCO, Lucas Oil Stadium. What was it like playing there?
I mean, the year before we went there, we went there and we lost. So that was a heartbreaker, and I just knew, like, man, like we got to come back here. We got to do this again. But you change the subject, change the reasoning. And that's what we did. We went there, and we ended up winning. It was crazy because the amount of fans and the amount of community that showed up was just like, it was like nothing else. It was just amazing. There was so many fans, there for us, and then even from other schools cheering us on. So, it was loud, it was awesome. It was such a big place. You feel like you're just like, I mean, you're literally playing in an NFL field. So it's just awesome. You're under the spotlight. But no, it was truly amazing. Going there with my brothers and getting it done. So, hopefully we get a shot this year to do it again. We bumped up for Success Factory. So we were actually in 3A last year. We're in 4A this year. So, I'm just excited to, go show what I can do this year in 4A with my team and, see what we can do.
What are your goals for this upcoming season? Are you trying to hone in on the defensive side of the ball, or are you just playing football?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm playing football, man. Obviously I'm gonna work on my defensive skills and trying to get better at that because I've always been an athlete. I've just tried to do what I can for the team. So I've gotten some drills and stuff I've been working on because I've never really just worked on DB. And just being a DB, I've worked a lot on quarterback and just improving because I had a couple of quarterback offers, I had a couple running back offers, and then just like offensive side of the ball offers. But then mostly all my bigger schools were safety offers. So like you said, what am I going to do? I'm going to be a football player for my team, because that's what they need me for. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be working on my defensive side of the ball more this year than I ever have.
Let's change the subject just a little bit here. We have a little bit of fun. MLB wise, are you a Cincinnati Reds guy? Are you Chicago Cubs? Indiana's a weird spot. You're in a blackout zone for like 5 different teams, and where you are.
Yeah. So I've grown up a St. Louis Cardinal fan. My parents and my grandpa, they've been that. They've been fans for them for a long time. But here recently, we had a guy in our area from a high school in our area. He actually got drafted back in, I think, 2019 to the Chicago White Sox, and he's been making his way up, and then actually this past week he actually got to debut. His name's Colson Montgomery. Yeah, he made that crazy catch. Yeah. He's from our area. He's about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes away from us. Place called Southridge, Huntingburg, Indiana. That I've been watching him a little bit since, he got up there. And it was really cool to see that because, a lot of people don't come out of this area of Southern Indiana. There's been Jay Cutler, who played at my high school, that came out of here. Ken Dilger, who played for the Colts. My dad, he played for Purdue. And then there's a couple other, people, but, there's not a lot coming out of Southern Indiana. So it's just cool to see that. And, that's why I cheer on the White Sox a little bit now. But mostly just the St. Louis Cardinals because of my parents and my family.
All right. So we got a film and we got a TV show, and I want you to tell me if it's a positive or a negative on your daily life with the image that they've put on Indiana. Okay. First of all, Parks and Rec. How many questions do you get about Parks and Rec about that? And
I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know that is? Get on Peacock, watch Parks and Rec. There's a town in Indiana a fictional town called Pawnee.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just small town public work. Okay.
Yeah, I literally have no idea what that is.
Okay. My goodness, you are young. All right. So, second of all, Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Positive or negative?
So dad went to Purdue. I've always grown up, I don't know, man. I got recruited by the Hoosiers, and so did my tight end.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
You haven't seen Hoosiers?
No.
That's a fantastic movie, man. You've got to watch that.
What's that on? Is that like Netflix or something?
It's not about the Indiana Hoosiers.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's about Indiana high school basketball, like in the 50s.
Yeah. Oh man, the basketball here is insane. I'm not gonna lie. Trent Sisley, he was top 100 in the nation. He was a 2025. He was at our school. He actually transferred to Monteverde Academy over in Florida for a year, for his senior year. And he's actually going to Indiana now. So he's under that new coach there. I forget what his name is. He came from West Virginia or whatever. But nah, he's actually, he came from our area. He's playing basketball there too. But now we have some good basketball over here in Indiana. I know a lot of kids that are up north in, Indianapolis area that are, wrecking it up there and, getting recruited really well too. So no, I've actually never watched Hoosiers. I've never watched the other one either. So
Yeah,
I guess
homework. Yeah, you've got homework. You need to watch
I
an
know.
episode of Parks and Rec, and you need to watch Hoosiers. You absolutely do, especially
All right.
in Indiana.
Absolutely, I will.
Anyway, Jett Goldsberry, committed to Ole Miss. Thank you very much for joining the show, and we look forward to seeing you develop in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Hotty toddy, baby. Let's go.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.